Imagine finding a secret that flips your whole life upside down. Your husband's not just sneaking around, but hiding something massive. Then there's your stepson, caught in the middle, and a mystery woman who's not what she seems. A letter from prison, a badge at the door. What's real anymore? Stick around, because this story's got twists that'll keep you guessing till the very last second. Hey, before we jump into this tale, drop a comment with where you're tuning in from and hit that subscribe button. Ready? Let's roll! I'm Lindsay Thompson, 40 years old, and I've always trusted my gut. It's like this quiet little voice that's guided me through life's twists, kept me steady when things got messy. That Tuesday afternoon, though, it was screaming, and I didn't even know why yet. Picture this. I'm sitting in my living room in our cozy suburban house just outside Seattle, the kind with big windows that let the pine trees peek in. The place is dead quiet, unusual for a house that's usually buzzing with noise. My husband, Brian, 42, is off on his third business trip this month, this time to Denver. He's been gone since Sunday, and I'm used to it by now. Him jetting off, me holding down the fort. Then there's Jake, my 18-year-old stepson, who just bolted out the door for basketball practice, leaving his usual trail of chaos. Sneakers by the couch, a half-open backpack spilling pens onto the rug. I'm about to kick back with a cup of tea, Earl Grey, my go-to, when I spot Jake's literature textbook sitting on the kitchen table. Tomorrow's his big test, the one he's been stressing about all week. Seriously, Jake? I mutter to myself, shaking my head. He's a good kid, but man, he'd forget his own head if it wasn't attached. I grab my keys, figuring I'll swing by the school gym and drop it off. But first, I decide to check his room. Maybe he forgot something else, like his notes or that beat-up copy of The Great Gatsby he's been lugging around. His room's a disaster, as always. Posters of bands I've never heard of, like Who's Tame Impala, are plastered on the walls. Empty soda cans are stacked on his desk like some weird trophy collection, and a pile of hoodies is swallowing his chair. I'm poking around looking for anything test-related when I hear it, a sharp ping from his tablet. It's half buried under a gray sweatshirt, screen glowing like it's begging me to look. Normally I wouldn't. Brian and I agreed ages ago to give Jake his space. Trust is everything with a stepkid, right? But then I see the name flash across the screen. Caitlin. Caitlin. Brian's assistant. The perky 32-year-old who's always got her blonde hair in a perfect bun, who brings coffee to our dinner parties and laughs at Brian's dumb jokes. My stomach does a little flip. Why's she messaging Jake? I freeze, my hand hovering over the tablet. Every fiber of me says don't, but that gut voice? It's whispering do it. So I nudge the sweatshirt aside, and there it is. Miss you already. Brian's clueless about last weekend. Same hotel next trip? My heart slams into my ribs. I tap the screen and the whole thread spills out like a confession nobody meant for me to see. Messages going back weeks. Caitlin and Jake talking about Brian, about hotels, about keeping me in the dark. One from her says, "Can't wait to see him again." Jake's reply, "You sure Lindsay won't figure it out?" My breath catches. I scroll faster and then I see it. A photo. Caitlin in a hotel room, smiling, with Brian's jacket slung over a chair I recognize from his Instagram posts. I scroll faster, and there they are. Texts, timestamps, little winking emojis that make my skin crawl, joking about some big surprise they're planning behind my back. I sink onto Jake's bed, the textbook thudding to the floor. My mind's racing, piecing it together. Brian's business trips, all those late-night calls he took in the garage, the new aftershave he started wearing, the way he'd dodge my questions about his schedule. And Jake, my Jake, the kid I've cheered for at every game, the one I helped with his college essays, he knew. He's been covering for them. I stare at the tablet, rereading a line from Caitlin. Brian says Jake's loyal. We're safe. Loyal to who? Not me, that's for damn sure. I sit there, the room spinning, and I start talking to myself. Out loud, because who else is gonna hear me? How did I miss this? 2 years with Brian, 3 with Jake under this roof, and I'm the idiot who didn't see it? I laugh, but it's bitter, like biting into a lemon. I think about the times I'd catch Jake and Brian exchanging looks. Quick glances I chalked up to teenage attitude. Now it hits me. They were signals. I was the outsider in my own home. Here's the kicker, though. I don't cry. Not yet. I'm too mad, too stunned. I pick up the textbook, clutch it like it's the only thing keeping me grounded, and I decide right then, I'm not saying a word. Not to Jake when he gets home. Not to Brian when he calls. I need proof. Time to think. This isn't just about hurt feelings. It's about figuring out who these people really are. Maybe that's the first lesson here. Trust can blind you, but curiosity? That's what cracks the truth wide open. I stand up, take a deep breath, and head downstairs. Jake's due back soon, and I've got a textbook to deliver with a smile plastered on my face. But inside, I'm cataloging every word I read, every lie I've swallowed. This isn't over, not by a long shot. Part of me wonders if I should have left the tablet alone, respected Jake's space like always. But then I think, no, ignorance isn't peace. It's just a prettier cage, and I'm done being locked in. So, yeah, that's where it starts. Me, a quiet house, and a secret that's about to blow everything apart. Stick around, because if you think this is wild, wait till you hear what happens when Brian walks through that door. 2 days after I found those messages, I'm a walking time bomb. I've been playing it cool, cooking Jake his favorite beef tacos, chatting with Brian over the phone like everything's fine. But inside, I'm a mess of anger and questions. It's Thursday now, and Brian's due back from Denver. I'm in the living room, perched on the edge of our gray couch, a glass of water in my hand, because wine feels too soft for what's coming. The house smells like cilantro and lime from dinner, but it's not comforting today. I hear his key in the lock and my pulse kicks up. Showtime. Brian strolls in, all confidence, his leather duffel slung over one shoulder and a little gift bag dangling from his hand. "Hey, my beautiful wife," he says, flashing that grin I used to love. He drops the bag on the coffee table, some fancy trinket from Colfax Avenue, he claims. I don't even glance at it. "Colfax is in Denver, right?" I ask, my voice steady as a rock. He nods, loosening his tie. "Yeah, good trip. Missed you." I let the silence hang for a beat, then hit him with it. "No, Brian, you weren't in Denver. You were at the Grandview Hotel, room 512 with Caitlin." His face freezes, like someone hit pause on a movie. The grin vanishes, and his eyes dart to the side. "What are you talking about?" he stammers, but I'm not buying it. "I saw the messages on Jake's tablet," I say, keeping my tone ice cold. "You and Caitlin. And Jake knew, your own son, covering for you. What kind of dad does that?" He stumbles over his words. "Lindsay, it's not, look, it's complicated." But I cut him off. "Complicated? You've been texting her about hotel rooms while showing me pics of networking dinners." "That's not complicated, Brian. That's a lie." He slumps into the armchair across from me, hands rubbing his face like he can wipe this away. I'm not done. "I trusted you. 2 years of marriage, and I thought we were solid. But you dragged Jake into this? Made him lie to me?" My voice cracks a little, but I hold it together. Brian opens his mouth, maybe to explain, maybe to deflect. But the front door swings open. Jake walks in, basketball bag over his shoulder, sweat still on his brow from practice. He stops dead, eyes bouncing between us. You can feel the air thicken like a storm's about to break. "Jake," Brian starts, his voice tight. "Lindsay knows about," I finish it for him, "about how you've been lying to me. How you put your son in the middle of this mess." Jake drops his bag, and it thuds on the hardwood. His face crumples. Guilt, fear, all of it spilling out. "I wanted to tell you," he blurts, his voice shaking. "Dad said it'd hurt you more if you knew. Said it'd wreck everything." He's practically pleading, and it guts me. I stand, cross the room in 3 steps, and put my hands on his shoulders. "Hey, listen to me," I say, locking eyes with him. "This isn't on you. None of it." He nods, tears welling up, and I pull him into a hug. Over his shoulder, I see Brian watching us, his jaw tight. He's the one who built this mess, and now he's got front row seats to it falling apart. Jake pulls back, wiping his eyes with his sleeve. "I'm sorry, Lindsay." I should have said something. I shake my head. You're 18, Jake. You shouldn't have to carry that. Brian finally speaks up, his tone low. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It just happened. I turn to him, fire in my chest. It didn't just happen, Brian. You chose it. Every text, every trip. And you chose to drag Jake into it. He doesn't argue this time, just stares at the floor. I take a breath, steadying myself. I don't know who you are anymore, I say, and it's the truth. 2 days ago, I was mad. Now, I'm disappointed. In him, in myself for not seeing it sooner. I think about all those little moments I brushed off. Brian's late nights, Jake's weird silences. How do you miss a whole life happening under your nose? Jake shifts beside me, his voice quiet. What happens now? I glance at Brian, then back at him. Your dad's moving out. Tonight. Brian's head snaps up. Lindsay, we can talk. No, I cut in. We're past talking. You made your choices. He doesn't fight it, just nods once and grabs his bag. As he heads upstairs to pack, I sit with Jake on the couch. You okay? I ask. He shrugs. I don't know. I messed up, but I hated lying to you. I squeeze his hand. We'll figure it out, okay? Together. Here's what I'm learning, right there in that moment. Trust isn't just about love. It's about honesty. Brian broke that, but Jake? He's still here, owning his part. Maybe that's the real lesson. Not everyone's who they seem, but some people are worth holding on to. Brian comes down with a suitcase, mutters a goodbye, and walks out. The door clicks shut, and it's just me and Jake. The house feels emptier, but weirdly lighter too. I don't know what's next, but I know one thing. I'm not letting this define us. It's Friday morning, and Brian's gone. Out of the house. Out of our lives for now. I'm in the bedroom, shoving his shirts into a cardboard box so he can pick them up from whatever hotel he's crashed at. The air's thick with that stale smell of yesterday's fight. But I'm moving fast, trying to keep my hands busy so my head doesn't spin out. I reach into his coat pocket, some old wool thing he hasn't worn since last winter, and my fingers brush something small. A USB drive. Plain black, no label. My gut twists. After everything, I shouldn't be surprised, but I plug it into my laptop anyway. The screen lights up with files, spreadsheets, bank statements, emails, offshore accounts in Panama, transfers with 6 zeros, names I don't recognize. My stomach drops. This isn't just about Caitlin. Brian's been up to something way bigger, something shady. I'm staring at a wire transfer dated 3 months ago, my name on the joint account he used, when the doorbell snaps me out of it. I open the door, and there's Caitlin, standing on my porch in jeans and a hoodie, looking like she hasn't slept. I know you hate me, she says, hands stuffed in her pockets. You've got every right to, but you need to hear this. I don't invite her in, just lean against the frame, arms crossed. Talk. She takes a breath. I've been working with the FBI. Brian's company's been cooking the books for years. Tax evasion, wire fraud. I didn't plan it. Things with him started real, but when I found the discrepancies, I couldn't ignore it. I've been feeding them evidence. My jaw tightens. So you're what? A hero now? She shakes her head. No, I messed up, Lindsay. I never wanted to hurt you or Jake, but Brian's not who you think. I laugh, sharp and bitter. Yeah, I'm getting that. She keeps going, her voice cracking. They're closing in. I had to tell you before it hits the news. I stare at her. This woman I've despised for days, and now she's flipping the script. Part of me wants to slam the door, but another part, maybe the practical one, knows she's handing me a lifeline. Why tell me? I ask. Because you deserve to know, she says simply, then turns and walks away. I shut the door, my mind racing. Brian's not just a cheater, he's a crook, and I've been living in his mess without a clue. I sit on the couch, the USB still in my hand, when Jake gets home from his buddy's place. He drops his backpack by the door, his eyes puffy like he's been up all night too. Hey, he says, kicking off his sneakers. You okay? I nod, but it's a lie. He flops next to me, and I know it's time. Jake, we need to talk, I say, setting the drive on the table. It's about your dad. It's not just Caitlin. There's more. He tenses up. Like what? I keep it straight. I nod. His company's under investigation. Money stuff, big, messy money stuff. Looks bad. Caitlin's been helping the feds. His mouth drops open. Wait, what? Dad's a criminal? I nod. Looks that way. I found records. It's bad. He runs a hand through his hair, staring at the floor. I knew he was lying about her, but this? How do we even deal with that? I lean forward, elbows on my knees. We stick together. That's how. This is gonna get messy. Cops, news, all of it. But we've got each other, okay? He nods, slow, like he's processing. You don't have to tell me this, you know. You could just leave. I look at him, this kid I've raised for 3 years, and shake my head. I'm not leaving you, Jake. You're not your dad. He swallows hard. I feel so stupid. I covered for him. I grab his hand. Hey, you were stuck in a tough spot. That's on him, not you. He squeezes back, and for a second we just sit there, the weight of it sinking in. I'm thinking about trust again. How Brian shattered it. How Jake's trying to rebuild it. It's funny, you know? You think you know someone, and then boom, they're a stranger. But here's the flip side. Sometimes the people you least expect step up. Caitlin could have kept quiet, let me drown in this alone. Instead, she showed up. I don't forgive her, not yet, but I can't ignore what she's done. Same with Jake. He messed up, but he's owning it. Maybe that's the takeaway. People aren't all good or all bad, they're just people, screwing up and trying to fix it. The day drags on, and by night, my phone buzzes with a news alert. Seattle firm faces federal probe. Brian's face is plastered on the screen. I show Jake and he groans. Great, everyone's gonna know. I nudge him. Yeah, but we'll handle it, one step at a time. He gives me a small smile and I feel it. A tiny spark of hope. This isn't over, not by a long shot. But right now, it's me and Jake against whatever's coming. And that's enough. 6 months fly by and here I am, sitting in a packed courtroom in downtown Seattle. The air's thick with tension, the kind you feel in your chest. Brian's up front in a cheap suit that doesn't fit his old swagger, facing the consequences for tax evasion and wire fraud. I'm in the back row, hands clasped tight, watching it all unfold. Jake's next to me, 18 but looking 20 in his blazer, his jaw set like he's holding it together by sheer will. The judge bangs the gavel, and it's done. Brian glances our way. His eyes meet mine for a split second, then drop. He's gone, escorted out, and I feel nothing. Not relief, not anger. Just empty. We've sold the house by now. Too many ghosts in those walls. Jake and I moved into a little 2-bedroom apartment near his top-pick college, just a couple blocks from campus. It's small, but it's ours. Fresh paint, a tiny balcony with a view of the city lights. Tonight, we're unpacking boxes in the living room, surrounded by takeout containers from our favorite burger joint. I'm taping up a box labeled kitchen when I pull out an old photo from under a stack of plates. It's me, Brian, and Jake at our wedding 3 years ago, smiling, clueless, a snapshot of a life that doesn't exist anymore. I'm about to toss it when Jake stops me. Keep it, he says, wiping ketchup off his hands. Not for him, for us. That's the day you became my stepmom. I look at him, this kid who's been through hell with me, and I smile. Yeah, okay. I stick it in the new apartment box, and we laugh. First real laugh in weeks. It feels good, like we're finally breathing again. Then the doorbell buzzes, and I figure it's the delivery guy with the lamp I ordered. Instead, it's Edith, Brian's mom, 68, all sharp edges and icy stares. She steps in uninvited, her purse clutched like a shield. I suppose you're happy now, she says, voice dripping with frost. My son's locked up and you're playing house. I bite my tongue, but Jake doesn't. He stands up, towering over her. Don't talk to her like that, Grandma. She's the only one who's been real with me. Edith blinks, caught off guard, and I see her soften. Just a flicker. Brian said it was all a mix-up. She mutters. I raise an eyebrow. Did he mention the offshore accounts? Or why the feds took his laptop? She doesn't answer, just says, I need to talk to him, and leaves. Jake flops back on the couch. Family dinner's gonna be weird this Thanksgiving. I nudge him. We'll make our own, burgers and all. He grins, and I'm hit with this wave of pride. He's tougher than I thought, than I ever gave him credit for. We keep unpacking, and I'm thinking about how we got here. Brian's choices tore us apart, but they also built something new. Jake's applying to colleges. I'm helping with essays, and we're a team. One night, he looks up from a scholarship form and asks, Why are you still doing this? You don't have to. The divorce is done. I set my pen down. I'm not divorcing you, Jake. 3 years as your stepmom, that's not nothing to me. He nods, eyes shiny, and says, He used me to cover for him, and I let him. I hate that. I lean in. That's his failure, not yours. You're more than his mistakes. We're quiet for a minute, just the hum of the city outside. I'm learning something here. Family isn't about who you're tied to by law. It's who you choose to stand by. Brian's locked up. But Jake and I, we're free, building something real. The photo's in the box, a reminder of where we started, not where we're going. I seal it up, and Jake says, You think we'll be okay? I don't hesitate. Yeah, we will, one day at a time. Weeks later, I'm at the mailbox, flipping through bills, when a letter slips out. No return address, just my name in neat handwriting. I open it, and my heart stops. It's from Brian, dated yesterday from prison. Lindsay, I'm sorry. Not just for Caitlin or the money, for everything. I've got news, though. They found something in my case. Evidence I didn't act alone. Someone else was pulling strings. I'm out in 6 months if I talk. Meet me then. Please. I stare at the words, my hands shaking. 6 months? Someone else? My mind spins. Everything I've built with Jake, this fragile piece, and now Brian's dragging me back in. The letter falls to the floor, and I hear Jake's voice from the kitchen. You good out there? I don't answer, frozen, because right then, the doorbell rings again. And I know, somehow, it's Caitlin, standing there with a badge pinned to her jacket. If you loved this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, drop a comment, and pass
This
it
is an
along to your
artistic and
buddies.
fictional creation intended for both entertainment and educational purposes. Any resemblance to actual people or events is purely coincidental. Some scenes and dialogues in the video are part of a dramatized performance and incorporate elements of grotesque, satire, and exaggeration. The creator stands against discrimination, violence, and hatred. This channel fully complies with YouTube's policies and does not infringe upon copyright laws.